Alright, Orfist Masque revealed today. Pretty early too for a cover card, but overall just excited to see it. So let's begin. But first, one card of the day, and it's for Boro Magnus, in which we got a double rare Tyrannical Count Aporus. Grade 2 taking power and skills. Count Rearguard. When your opponent will put a normal unit from Rearguard to Soul by the ability of Boro Magnus, your opponent puts those cards to the bottom of the deck instead of Soul. Remember, Boro Magnus sucks everything into Soul, including your opponent's Rearguards, and depending on the matchup, that could actually become a resource fodder there. There aren't exactly insanely too many decks that need Soul, so this can be hit or miss sometimes, but those matchups that do need Soul, this is very helpful, especially with the second skill where auto rearguard. When this card attacks, this unit gets us 5k power for every 5 cards in Soul. Boro Magnus at full power means 15k. That's going to be pretty strong. Overall, it's not too bad. It's a good Soul target to call from Boro Magnus, and also prevents your opponent from sucking things into Soul, but sometimes it can be a hit or miss depending on the matchup, and you might be out of room too for the deck. And now to the Tuesday stream. First off, we got the Dragon Tree Retch Cyber Keter, which is of course the Dragon Tree Retch unit that is a grade 2 with 10k power that searches for Masques Hydrogram by placing it on rearguard for Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, get a Dragon Tree marker that doesn't have a Dragon Tree marker on it, which also lets you search for Masques Hydrogram. Still hoping for a Dragon Empire and Keter, because those decks right now don't seem to have any Masques Unit candidates right now. Next, Cardinal Principal Opart, which is grade 1 with key power and the skill is auto when placed on rearguard. If your Vanguard is Orfist, cost Counterblast 1, search your deck for 1 world card and discard it, and of course shuffle your deck. So there's a little bit of a debate which one is better, this or Grunner. Technically Grunner is better because the likely chances of getting a world card at random from the top 7 is there, although this one is a guaranteed search. Still have to put it at the drop zone, but at least there's drop zone setup here. But for one Counterblast to practically get no card in hand is a little bit iffy. But the second skill is what made this card worth it for Orfist Masque, because when this card is retired from rearguard, if your Vanguard is Orfist Masque, you may call a Shadow Army token to rearguard. It's basically like Naboria, except this one's only for Orfist Masque. Definitely worth running when you're playing Orfist Masque, because yes, it could search for your world card. It has to be from the drop zone, but spoiler, Orfist Masque can actually use that from the drop zone. And the other thing is just more combo plays with Shadow Army tokens. Not sure if you're still going to be running Naboria in the deck. Grunner, you'll probably still play. Naboria, you probably will still play in a way, since that's still a big attacker, but debatable split right there. Although I probably would take out Thumbarino. Finally, Cardinal Mors Orfist Masque, which is a grade 3 with 13 power, and the skill is, the first one is like every other Masque unit where you can only ride it on a form of itself. But the main skill is, act Vanguard once per turn costs, remove an Orfist with different name from hand, soul, or drop, aka remove its identity, choose a world card from your drop zone and put it into your order zone. Like all of them, there's some support in it by removing its old identity. This one is at least a little bit of upside to Regis, because this one could be played once per turn, while Regis has to be on place. But anyway, third skill, Auto Vanguard. When this card attacks, costs Counterblast 1, put any number of world cards from the order zone into your drop zone, and then call the same number of Shadow Army tokens as the number of world cards you put to the drop zone. If you call 2 or more, this card gets drive +1 to the end of that battle. So 2 things about Orfist Masque, even though you could say it's a bit of a side grade to Regis. The big one is that you do not discard a card, and there's the drive +1, because one of Orfist's biggest problems is basically lack of hand advantage. This one actually doesn't make you lose a card and gives you an extra card. The only problem with this compared to Orfist Regis, if you want to make that comparison, is the fact that you have to use world cards as the cost, and you want to put at least 2. Once you're out, you're kind of done. Regis lets you build up the world cards over time and then just get stronger over time practically. On average, you're going to get 2 calls from Regis, and then combined with some other skills, you might get more. This is probably going to be the same thing by using the same number of world cards, because usually it's going to be 2. But overall, you can say this is a bit iffy compared to Regis, while at the same time you can say a little bit better in a way in some scenarios, because 1, you don't lose a card from your hand, and 2, you get extra drive, which is going to be very powerful, but you don't get the extra power. Then again, your token boosters already give you power. And this is also a brand gate, so you're going to be using set orders, and you can only play 1 order per turn, so Masques Hydrogram can be a problem sometimes, and fitting space can be rough as well. But overall, I will have to say this is not too bad. And finally, we got Masques Hydrogram reprints in set 12. I feel suckered for buying a bunch of them in set 10 now, but I do like this because, yay, more reprints of a sought after card. So that's it for the new Orfist Masque. What do you guys think of it? I just gave you my thoughts on it. Basically a bit of a side grade, but at the same time a bit stronger at the same time, depending on scenarios. I like the upside that you do not lose cards in hand and you get drive pluses. So that's the main upside. Although I wish that it was a bit stronger in a certain way, just to make it feel more threatening. Maybe some extra power or maybe a crit. You know, just make this big behemoth of a corrupted golem just be all powerful. But in that, that's for this, and see y'all next time.